AskReddit by Lockie L. What would you name a newborn child if you really wanted to ruin their life, but wanted to maintain plausible deniability about having done it on purpose? I went to school with a girl named Summer Eve, which is a douche. Sisters called April, May and June. Last name Showers. Macaroni. Mac for short, even on their birth certificate. They always go by Mac. No one would ever call them Macaroni, only me and in private. Most people will assume Mac is short for Mackenzie, but Macaroni will know. Macaroni will know every second of every day. It will burn deep down inside. This is how I will create a supervillain. Meg for Megatron. Petal, Honey or Bunny. They sound like cute names for a little girl at first, except that it's rather hard to be taken seriously years down the line when you're a full-grown adult and trying to address a boardroom of important people and your name is something like Petal Rose, Honey Little or Bunny Walker, making you sound like a character straight out of a Beatrix Potter novel or a Sylvanian Family's toy. Woman who works in my office is legally named Muffin. Name it Porn. In Thai language, it is a common name that shows up often. It means getting a good blessing. X, if a powerful mythical creature grants you porn to be healthy and can recover fast, it means you have received a good porn. I know a Thai lady called Porn Hunter. She married a Scotsman. Knew a guy named Autograph. That was just weird. I knew some named Samuel Witch. The last name Dyke is very common in the area I live in. When I moved here in grade 8, there was an announcement over the school's PA for a Harry Dyke to report to the office. I couldn't believe what I was hearing, so probably Harry Dyke Mayo. Last name Coburn is popular where I'm from, but it's written Cockburn. I still giggle when I see that name. I'm 30. My surname is King, so either Joe or Mark or one. Wayne. Just fucking anything with stupid spelling. My kid brought a new friend around the other day and he goes, "Hi, I'm Declan with a K," and yes, I will be saying that for the rest of my life. I was like, funny line but also poor bugger. Hello, Kecklin. I had read a story about how a woman unintentionally named her daughter after a concentration camp. She said she just liked the name and had no idea the craziest part was that she got pretty far before anyone told her. Treblinka. I have a soft spot for Fontanelle. You'll grow out of it. My parents knew someone in university who called himself Dick, from Richard of course. Dick's last name was Trickle. My dad in particular can't tell the story without laughing uncontrollably. I'd say that Dick Trickle gets my vote. Edit. Thank you all for sharing with me the hilarious names you've heard. They are absolutely ridiculous. Who thinks of these names as viable options for their children? There was an NASCAR driver in the 80s by that name. I still think he should have been sponsored by Depends. My granny is called Eileen. Little did my great-grandparents know that she would contract childhood polio that left her with one leg longer than the other. I feel terrible for this. My granny is a saint, but come on. What's your name? Eileen, right. I see that, but I still need a name. There's a guy here in DC shown on the news all the time. He's like the spokesperson for the US Park Service, so he's on whenever there's an event on or around the mall. Anyway, his name is my clitorist. They don't pronounce the T at the end like they absolutely should more often than not. It always amuses me. Not the name you really wanted as a kid. Then you're dealing with the press for a living? Lol. Edit. His name is actually Michael Turst. They just say Latoris. One of the news meteorologists in Charlotte, NC is named Larry Sprinkle. He was made for being the weatherman. I think there is another guy named Dallas Rains who is also a meteorologist. I hope he is in Dallas TX, but I can't say for sure and I'm too lazy to look up. In 2006, A local couple named their son Adolf Hitler. The authorities took the child away in 2010. And then there's Adolf Hitler, the politician from Africa. He and his parents had no idea about the painter and serial genocider. New Hampshire had a representative named Dick Sweat in the mid-90s. Ljotbergljotljotstote. English translation: ugly rock, ugly ugly daughter. This is a perfectly valid name around here and I don't know why. It's dying though, thankfully. Norwegian. No women named Bergljot, 40s and up, but old names are popular now, so I wouldn't be shocked to see an infant Bergljot. Fortunately the name does not actually mean rock ugly, it's salvation plus light. And while rock hill is one possible meaning of Bergljot is not a word in modern Norwegian, so that's a plus. A girl I knew had a brother named Jack Zopf. There's a BTCC driver called Jack Goff. Yes, the commentators say his name quickly and it must absolutely be on purpose. Christopher as Christopher or Morley as Molly. This gave me an aneurysm. Tony spelled Tone. Better than a possible Tokni, I guess. I had an art teacher in middle school whose name was Mrs. Cox. We would talk in hushed tones about the potential first name she gave her son. Was it Harry? One day, she heard our musings and relented that she named her son Seymour, and that we were to end our nonsense immediately. It had the opposite effect and our giggles when she walked into the room only intensified. She had married into the name, but I'm unsure what her maiden name is. We later found out she named her firstborn son Seymour after her father, an apparent tradition in the family her husband chose to honor. Unfortunate for that boy that his last name was also Cox. I imagine school was not easy for the lad. Edit, spelling, on mobile. Reminds me of the drama teacher at my school whose name was Mrs. Seaman. Which isn't that bad, but teenagers being what they are, was bad enough on its own. And then someone caught wind of the fact that her husband's name was Dick. Bend over. Legitimate actual person my sister knew. His parents were really nice people too, just painfully naive. Deeply religious types. Let us say after 5 years in a West London comprehensive, Ben was neither naive or religious. Don't suppose he had a sister called Eileen? One that always made me chuckle was Gary Neville's dad, Neville Neville. Gaylord. Yes, this is an actual name, and it makes me depressingly sigh to think of it again. The Gaylord is a huge, stunning hotel chain in the States. I laughed when I first saw the Gaylord Palms in Florida, and then when I went in one for the first time, I was amazed. Snithjom. Having a surname as a first name, and first name as a surname, means people would mentally swap them. Having an instead of M would keep getting auto-corrected on computer forms and causing hell for paperwork. Both you can blame on typos when completing the birth certificate. Legit, my cousin has a common first name as a last name and a common last name as a first name. He's been fighting with it his whole life. My husband's last name is Arts. I joke that we should name a baby boy Marshall. Syphilis. I had a friend who thought this was the most beautiful name, but he didn't know it was an STD. I've heard of a kid called chlamydia. XEA12. No plausible deniability. I think I could ruin my son's life by naming him T'Challa. I am not black. Latrine. You mean you changed it to latrine? Placenta. My older sister is a nurse and she actually had a patient who named her baby girl this because she thought it sounded pretty. I mean, how would you even shorten that into a plausible nickname ? Lacey. Mike Hunt. Eric Shin. Dick Dumas. These are real people. Huge anus. In high school I knew someone whose last name was Null and she crashed databases and web forms everywhere she went. She changed her last name legally on her 18th birthday to Null so it was pronounced the same, but didn't crash things. Null means fuck in Swedish. I knew a Buster Himman. Adolf. Nobody recovers from that anymore. That's my granddad's name. He is Polish, mostly people call him Donek for short. Anale. It's the perfect curse. I've met a couple on Alias. I'm like, why would you name your kid Anally? Had a friend in middle school that said she wanted to name her future daughter Lizard and call her Liz for short, so that when people assume it stands for Elizabeth or something the child could correct them that it's short for Lizard. This is like my boyfriend who jokes about calling a future daughter May, short for mayonnaise. KVIIT, or as I address her at home, Katie. Well, with the surname Beale, Badmo is the most valid option. Newer kid names Holden Icecock. Chastity not chastity. Deleted. Alexa or Siri. I know a woman named Alexa and meetings with her constantly set off the Amazon Alexis. I can't imagine living with those names is fun now. 1. Birding. 2. Least favorite. 3. Accident. 4. Mistake. 5. Horiu. Thank you to TikTok. Anakin. Alexa. Alexa, turn off the lights. Amy Schumer already did this genital fissure, so genital fissure, which is a skin tear on your genitals. She claims to not have realized but doubt it. She apparently changed the middle name cause of this. But yeah, I don't put it past her to do it and not expect the backlash. Richard Head, https://richardheadplc.com/. ISIS was a beautiful name until a terrorist group started using it as an acronym. That group has since changed names and also largely been driven back underground. I think it's plausible that some very young parents not realize the negative connections of the name and bring it back. My son was born with a true knot in his umbilical cord, which is apparently considered very lucky. I wanted to name him after an old British king whose name meant knot. But my wife gave me a hard no on Canute. Haywood Jablome.